We started our buying center after we stole the idea from Mr. Long about 5 years ago. And like any thing that progresses forward, you start off with some bumps. And my relativity to the Gilligans Island was that it was started out with best intentions and ended up on the rocks. And we had to progressively take ourselves through processes of trials and tribulations to everybody work into the right roles and succeed to survive. And I'm going to just click through this, but you know, we set sail, like I said, 5.5 years ago, and we started out in basically a broom closet in our Cadillac store, and quickly outgrew and got kicked out of there because they didn't want our clientele walking through their showroom as we bought $100 cars and everything else. Our shipwreck, with the growing pains, you end up on the rocks, and it's all what you do with it. And that's how I live my life, and everything I do these days is, you know what, you end up on the rocks, you figure out how you can survive, you figure out how you're going to make everything the best of it. If you're going to eat coconuts, you eat coconuts like Gilligan, and bananas and everything else, but you move on. Survival is what we did next. We figured out how to move forward. We looked at what we were using as our tools, we looked at what we were using as our processes, and we looked at who our people were, and then we made decisions. Some of them were easy decisions, some of them were hard. You had to change people when you needed to. You found that you didn't have the right person. After that, we made some real changes in the way we hire, who we hire, and how we put them into a position that enabled us. Now we have no turnover. If we have turnover, it's because we've moved someone into a progressive position. Everyone has a job to do. You know, like Gilligan's Island, everyone had a task to make the things go. But one of the most important things we found out is make sure Gilligan isn't out there steering the ship. Okay? Use the tools around you and be rescued by your friends. I want to say thank you once again to Tom and Bill and all his team here at Van. We look at them as a partner like David. I'm happy to talk to every one of you at any time you'd like. I get nothing out of this other than the support from Tom and Bill and their whole staff in making the product as great as they can and delivering a fantastic number of leads to us every month for what we pay them. I mean, you know, I pay them too, just like every one of you. It's something that I tried 3 different lead providers that dealt with Craigslist prior to coming on with Van. Was always disappointed. They didn't integrate, they didn't work well, they weren't expedient in time. The accuracy a lot of times was horrible. And Tom came up and presented to us the information. David had supported it. We looked at it. It was a great time for us to get out of a contract from another vendor. And believe me, it's made, I mean, it's caused our business to grow and grow and grow. And thank you again. This conference is a wonderful thing every year, and you've done it first class. But that's our Rescued by Our Friends. Cast and crew, like I said, I've got a small staff, myself, Gilligan, Keith, one of my young, well, he's 36 years old, but he's new with us. He's been with our group for quite a while. Professors, John. John's been with the Morries Automotive Group on and off for 38 years. He's my right hand. And today when Adam asked about people that you would never have to think twice about, you know, leaving your desk to, that's John. I never have to worry about it. We send out a text, and I've got it here. I'll read it to you real quick. This is what comes from the van. Hi, this is Alyssa and Courtney at Sell to Morries. We buy cars for the Morries Automotive Group. We're interested in purchasing and its make and model that populates. Willing to give you a check on the spot for your vehicle. Call us at our number. We can set an appointment, give you a fair value for your vehicle. Hopefully we can have you leaving the lot with a check in your hand, a smile on your face, and a free ride home. Thanks for your time. We look forward to hearing from you. That's as simple and as complicated as it needs to be. And we get a huge response rate. It is overwhelming that the phone calls start clicking in the minute that Tom's software goes in for the hour and pulls all the leads, sends out the text like that. Our phone just rings off the hook for the next 15 minutes. And the girls, Alyssa and Courtney, I actually have two sisters that are my BDC reps, work right in my office with me, and they handle the calls and everybody else jumps on the calls as needed. Once again, our millionaires, Carl and Ellen Schmidt, our owners. I just thought I'd put it in there. And then guest cast, Ann and Sarah. I have two additional young ladies that work for me. That Ann is our title clerk and billing clerk right inside the office. We issue a check on the spot for every deal. If they've got equity in there and they've got a loan on the car, the equity check we issue on the spot. Okay? I'll wait for the lien card. If they've got the title, boom, it's on the spot. If they don't have the title, and we can, if it's a Minnesota state title, and we can pull up a DOT report that shows the title in their name and get the title number, I do a lost title application, costs $4 to get the title redone, and a POA. Boom, issue a check on the spot. Put it in their hand, send them home. If they have inequity, I'll take a credit card up to 10 grand or a check. Okay? Makes it easy. They're done. Tell them to keep the insurance on their car for 14 days so they don't get forced place insurance by their bank, getting a notice, and they all understand that. But I tell them, you're done with liability on the car and everything else. It's ours. Thank you very much. Here's a free ride home. Goodbye. Here's the Airship Wreck. That little building right there is 24 by 24. We have 6 offices, a waiting room, a bathroom that has no hot water and never has for the last 5 years that we've been in there, and very light use is what we say. We sit in the middle of the Hyundai store. It's a used car lot. This was an old used car building that was sitting vacant and falling down, and how we saved it is we wrapped it and we glued it together because it was going to fall apart if we didn't wrap it. But you know, our theory is we take our buying centers out of the store. The 2 that we're opening very soon will both be independent also out of the stores as quickly as possible. So I say have your own beach. That's why you should have a buying center. David touched on it about, you know, having the independent buying center and not getting involved with the retail end. Where we're positioned, we probably have 5 to 6 people a day walk up the stairs and want to look at a used car. We take them by the hand, walk them 100 feet over to the showroom, introduce them to a salesperson, and leave them with them in good hands. Lug Nuts. This phrase came from, I sat down with all my staff about 2 weeks ago when I was putting this together with Tom. And Alyssa, I said, Alyssa, if you were to tell me a key word to bring up conversation about your end of the business and being successful, what would it be? And she said, I don't need to know how pretty your nuts are. Okay? So there's no need to get into deep conversation when making an appointment. Okay? She said, you know, we don't need to know how clean or pretty your nuts are. And, you know, people will want to tell you how wonderful their car is, and, you know, it's got these wheels and these lug nuts and these exhausts and everything else. And my girls are there to stay as dumb as a fox. They don't need to get into anything other than what time and what day you'd like to come in and meet with one of our professional appraisers. They'll take care of you in a minute or two when you get here. We set everything by appointment, so someone is literally waiting for you when you get here. And there's always coffee on, and water and soda, and lemon cookies on the table, and because I'm addicted to the darn things. But the BDC reps shouldn't get into it, and whether you got a collector car or a one-on-one or anything else, all they need to do is say, wonderful, fantastic, we could use that car. And someone will say, well, right now it's not running. Hey, no problem at all. We have a program for that. We will buy cars that are sitting in weeds next to somebody's barn, and I've got scrapper that'll go pick it up, drag it out of the field, wherever it is. We pay them $100 if they can't drive it in, $150 if they can, and it's falling apart and dead and ready to go to car heaven. I get $350 to $450 out of every one of those from an auto scrapper. When I talked about it earlier about how we do our appointment, I don't want to give anybody an excuse why not to come in. I guess is the way that my whole theory on how we do our appointments in opposite of out in San Francisco, because he's in San Francisco. Time is everything to the people out in your environment. Okay? And your traffic, your everything else, I mean, it makes it so that, yeah, you don't want someone coming if they're not in the range, because they are going to choke you to death. They just sat in traffic for 3 hours to, we have Minnesota False, or I'm sorry, Minnesota Nice. People from Minnesota will drive 2 hours to go get a loaf of bread if they save, 75 cents. So people are used to traveling around. They don't care. It's a beautiful place to drive. There's cows and there's, Swiss cheese and everything else and whatever. And they all want to sing Oompa and Viking songs. So they will come in. Set up the appointment, hang up. But one of the biggest things we do is we call back 2 hours before every appointment and confirm it. And we stress that. And where it really gets important is we are open from 9 to 3 on Saturdays at the Buy Center. And there's a limited number of appointments on Saturdays, obviously, because there's usually only 2 buyers there on Saturday. I don't work too many Saturdays other than one of the guys needs a day off. So there's a limited number of appointments. We try to do each buyer every half hour on a Saturday. So I don't want non-confirmed appointments on Friday clogging up Saturday's list. I don't want to tell somebody, no, you can't come in because there's a false appointment there. So we confirm every appointment. Now, I'm hoping this goes on, Tom. This is the wrong one. How did this get in there?
At least it's not the other one.
Nope, this is wrong, completely wrong. What happened to my... Did anybody see the movie? I feel so bad. I did all this crazy stuff. This is really an enlightening trailer that I was hoping to show. But it's not the one ringy dingy, two ringy dingy that was on the screen. Tom, for some reason, this tile is showing something that's not supposed to show. This is supposed to be the movie trailer for Hidden Numbers. And it's showing, this is a funny skit, but it wasn't. Anybody see the movie Hidden Numbers? It was about NASA in 1961 in the space race. African-American women that were human calculators that were used at NASA in North Carolina in the early 60s. And very enlightening film. It really shows the human spirit and the will. but I had a little trailer clip from it that has a great Motown song that goes with it that Pharrell sings that we'll go by it. Oh, well, this was just a small clip that it talks about being in the fight of our lives. And part of the movie, at the end of their voyage, they on re-entry, they really have to do some recalculating to get some adjustments on some of the numbers. And one of the key lines in the movie there was Alan Shepard saying, "We're in a fight of our lives here, and it's getting real hot in here." Our business, we as automobile retail professionals, wholesale professionals, and everybody in between, we're in the fight of our lives right now. Acquisition of vehicles is, I would hope, number one or number two concern in every one of your day-to-day lives. We have to figure out how we're going to get the lifeblood of our business, and that's used vehicles, into our dealerships. And I think every presenter that's talked here today has talked about this first issue. Having the correct person doing the correct job. You have proven process. We've talked about it, that you use every time with every customer. And the first one, having the correct person doing the right job. I have talked with probably every dealer that has called me from either Tom or Bill's lead. When they call me, that's one of the biggest things I stress, is don't even spend the initial money to crack the door on this thing if you aren't going to go into it the right way, right from the start. We took the beating, so I can tell you we made the mistakes, and I'll let you learn from our mistakes. You know, take the unless you're ready to dedicate yourself to going into it with the right people in the right spot, it's not going to work. Your used car manager can't do this. Okay? I say it over and over and over again. The busiest guy in the dealership, used car manager, he's got advertisers, service people, sales people, other managers, appraisals pulling at him constantly. The last thing he wants to do is go look at a $300 car. But that $300 car that you buy for $300, you could take to the sale and make $1,200. Okay, so it's a great piece to have, but your used car manager is going, get that thing. I don't want to look at it. Why is that parked? I'm not running out there. Somebody just tell the people, you know, $200 or whatever. And he's all ticked off, and you know, then he doesn't appraise the next car right that could be a great deal on a nice car. You know.
There's no pack here.
What's that?
You just made reference, I don't know if they're real numbers, you know, you buy a car for $300, you know, set it off and sell it for $1,200, you don't run a...
I have no pack on my wholesale cars. No. They come in for whatever they come in for. They go out to the auction, and I get real money for them. You know, I don't care what the no. There's no voodoo or anything else that's got to happen. It's money is money. I'm a firm believer, and I ran my business this way. You know, and you gentlemen that are dealers, you work all month and you stack money up like this, like a big cone. Okay, and then on the last 5 days of the month, your controller starts paying bills, and your accounts payable pays bills, and you start knocking off the top. Well, guess what? At the end of the month, if there's money left, it's in the biggest part of the pile, and that's mine. Okay? So it's a pretty easy concept of business. I don't have to do charts and figures and everything else. I just look at the bottom of the month. If there's a big piece of green on the bottom, it's mine. Make sure your employees are following the process. You have to inspect what you expect, okay? And the only way that happens is get off your seat and get on your feet. And with me, it's grab my cane or my roller and wander my 48 square feet of happiness there, and sit and talk to each one of my employees every day I'm there and find out what's going, how everything's going, what's going on in their lives, how's Courtney's daughter, and how's Annie's dog. Frank comes to the dealership pretty much most days. He's about 100 years old, lays in the corner, no one ever knows he's there. I mean, it's whatever is going on, we can talk about it. John's the most hilarious but the hardest working person I ever met in my life. If you leave him alone for 10 seconds, he's going to put a roof on the building. Okay, and I'm not kidding. But it's knowing your people, knowing what they're doing. I use Vin Solutions as our CRM. Every customer goes into it. The minute they walk in the door, the girls assign one of the buyers to the customer. It becomes theirs. It goes into our follow-up process. We have a very unique follow-up process for van. We have a unique follow-up process for trade-in marketplace. We have a unique follow-up process set for our SEO customers and our repeat Morries automotive customers. And they're set up on what we have found through some pretty quantitative numbers that we've done the research on, that we have a better target of getting them back in once we've done an appraisal on their car if we haven't purchased after so many days. And with van, the 10 to 15 day, because we talk to them right away, we get them in, we look at their car.
What percentage of your business is generated off your brand name?
SEO, our brand name or organic websites is about, I think since the beginning of the year this year, it's been 18%. So, yeah. Van is right now 47%. Trade-in marketplace is 35 to 38%, and what we call everything else basically is our brand, our SEO word search. Sell to Morries website and Morries automotive website has a tag that sends people into Kelley Blue Book. So, but the origination of a Google search or a search for our websites, we break it down to the initiating, where they get into the name, not where they end up. And Tim and the others equate to the other 53 to 54%.
A lot of referral business?
We do a lot of repeat business, being 5.5 years now in business, especially John, his customer base from all the years with the Morries Automotive Group, and he's the most gregarious, wonderful. He makes me seem like an amateur in talking, he's just a personality that people love him.
Do you have any advertising to promote Sell to Morries other than just your website?
We haven't in 2 years.
But you did before?
Yeah, it was a flop. We did radio advertising, billboard advertising, and even some TV stuff. We made a deal with the Fox Sports North during the playoffs for the Wild Hockey and for the Twins opening week. 2 years ago, we spent $25,000 a week for 3 weeks and got absolutely zero. Oh yeah, we spend about $500 to $700 a month on SEO words, and we spend about $1,000 on pay-to-click. And sometimes if the month looks like it's waning a little bit, I'll kick a little bit more money into the pay-to-click. Maybe another $500, $600. Advertising is not a big expense on this. Being 55 years in the same town, the Morries name is known by everybody. And we have frontage, that little building, the reason why we haven't moved out of it is it's on a frontage of probably 175 to 200,000 cars a day. So it's right on the main highway, 394, 2 miles out of downtown Minneapolis. Everything that comes from and goes from all the western suburbs has to go by us.
Are your objectives based on, what are your objectives based on?
Which objectives?
Meaning how many cars you're taking in at a
Everyone I can buy.
Okay.
I got to be honest with you. Right now, the objective is to buy every car I can buy. I don't worry about setting, I know I'm going to buy 100 and some cars every month, and I'm going to buy a bunch of wholesale cars every month. I'm going to buy some wrecks that are going to go to the scrapyard every month. Right now, I just need every car bought. Okay, so to say to my guys, we have to have 152 cars, and we've got to, I know what our percentages are. I have a matrix that I know every cost of every lead for every lead source and what it breaks down to every buy. I get that as an Excel spreadsheet. It updates every month out of the Reynolds and out of all our systems. I put in the numbers that I get from Tom from the report sheets, and I put in the numbers that I get from Kelly Blue Book on their report sheets, and then I put in we get all our VDPs and SEO search and everything else. I put in the numbers I can break down. I can tell you right now, the cost per lead after we go into what we break down is a good lead, meaning if we send it out or Van sends it out and they respond, it becomes a good lead. If we make a call to them and they respond, it's a good lead, or if they pick up. If it's a trade-in marketplace, if we call out or send an email and they respond, it becomes a good lead. If they don't respond in 3 days, they have no interest in responding. Especially on the trade-in marketplace, non-instant cash offers, leads that come in, the percentage of those people, they're basically looking at our used car inventory. So the percentage of those people that end up going into the buying center rather than one of the dealerships to trade is very low. So I look at leads as good leads once they're filtered down. On trade-in marketplace, a good lead right now, year to date, is running us about $12.40 per good lead. On Van, it's about $10.85, and all others comes out to about $14.50 because it's obviously a smaller amount. And to come down to buy, that's what I look at the most. Van is under $100. It's about I think it was $92 when I looked at it on Monday for year to date. No, I'm sorry. That was Traded Marketplace. Van is it's about half, so about $47, $48 per buy. And all others was just over $100 when you break it down, $126 or something like that. So you can run all the numbers, but with us, like I said before, we are not a profit center. We are a portal for inventory, and that's how we look at it. So the most important thing for us is not, after we just cover our expenses, is not profit. The most important thing is to buy as many cars correctly. If you aren't going to dedicate someone to do it and do it the right way, you're going to lose your ass right off the bat. You're going to fail. I have not seen anybody end up where a year, 6 months, 2 years later is successful on it if they're trying to run it out of the showroom with existing people doing it. You don't have somebody dedicated to do the lead calls, to do the follow-ups, to do the emails, everything else. You've got to have someone that's their job. Give them the responsibility. Okay? We had to reinvent the wheel, just like at NASA, they had to reinvent math. Okay? But here's one of the biggest things that a lot of people have talked about today. Be a leader. If you're the owner, if you're the GM, whatever your positions are, but you've got to be in front of this when it starts. You've got to be the one talking to your staff, talking to your people in your stores, be in the forefront and laying it down how you're going to do it the right way. Be the leader, take the initiative to it. But also, when it comes to, and we've talked about it a few different ways with David, they've got all the GMs and all that can override the V-Auto. I'm the leader of my staff. We have what you would call a save a deal meeting every day. We sit down and go through VIN solutions, and when the buyers are assigned a customer, the follow-up until they hit 21 days is the buyer's responsibility. So the girls have all the time in the world to take incoming leads and make appointments. I want the buyers talking to the customer. The buyer knows the car, the buyer did the appraisal, the buyer knows what he talked about with the customer. The only people that I want calling that customer back are the buyer or me. And we have a sit down every morning where we go through the appraisals from the day before, and I ask them, like I mentioned before, why didn't you buy the car? Not what's wrong with the car, not anything else. You know, what do we have to do to buy the car, I think comes out of my mouth more than anything. And I go through and I look at the car, I rebuild it in V-Auto, I look at it, I analyze it, and I go, wait a second. If you're telling me that there's X amount there's 3% left in it before we hit our guidelines, why didn't you give it to them before they walked out? Well, it didn't feel that, no. Here, let's call the people. Folks, I'm Gary, I'm the director at the buying center. I re-looked at your appraisal on your car, and you know what? I think that we can find a little bit more money. One of our stores could really use your car. I'm happy to give you another $300. Would that work? About 50% of them go, yeah. Or can you give me another 100 or what? You know, it opens up the dialogue, and you know, the second phase, like you always say, in the retail end is everything is the magic. That's what we do. Don't miss out on the wholesale profit. How many of you guys don't buy wholesale just knowing you're going to take it to the auction? Why? If I can make $1 on the car, I'm going to buy it.
Do you put any filters on your search criteria? You do what?
Why? I'll buy salvage, I'll buy junk, I'll buy title brands. Just, they're not going into the stores, but I just buy them right. You know, if the market is 50% on a title branded car or a salvage car, I want to buy it for 45%. I'm going to make the 5%. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to make the money. If I send it out to the sale and Sarah calls me up on Wednesday afternoon and says, hey, we made $12,000 today at the sale. Great day. Way to go. Why would I not buy wholesale cars? Like I said, you can buy the junk cars. We cover more than most all of our expenses out of our monthly wholesale wins. I mentioned before slightly our follow-up process. Every different lead source has a different follow-up process, and they're all 1 to 3 days, 3 phone calls, 3 texts, 3 emails, and then they separate out. Vans, we will kind of almost leave alone till 10 days, and then go real hard 10 to 15 days with them. Trade-in marketplace, we go real hard the first 5 days, and then leave them alone for about 3 days, and then hit them again at 9 to 12 days, and then 21 for 3 days, 30 for 3 days, 60 for 3 days. So we stay on those pretty hard. The van leads seem to, you hit them hard at 10 to 14 or 15, you hit them hard again at 21 to 24, you hit them hard at 30, and just a follow-up call or an email then again at 40 days. They're usually out of the market or lost interest by then. You know, let's just talk, oh, I'm sorry. I can't read okay. Goals, I talked about goals a little bit. Set your goals, it's good to have goals. You'd like to know where your measuring stick is, but we've been in it long enough where I know, okay, here's where we are now. Our newest goal now is buy every car. The only way I can get to buying 200 cars is buy the 150, the 160, the 161, 62, 63, and so on. to get to 200. And then once I get to 200 cars, the only way I'm going to get to 300 cars is buy the 201st car. Okay, I just know that I have to buy every car that I can buy every month. Godspeed. Any questions? There was a little music and a little fun that was supposed to be in them, but hey, we made it through. And hopefully I made it. Tom didn't wave at me, so I made it in under my time slot. But any questions for me? Oh, this is unusual. I'll get probably 4 phone calls later today. People in the room.
How quick do you turn around a car from once it hits lot to the front line? And how do you measure it?
Well, because of the way we dispose of our cars, what we do is all our cars that are retailable cars, they get a YouTube video shot on them the day that they come in. It's about 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. And we show all the dings, dents, scratches. We show the goods, the bads, the cool stuff, and the damage or stuff that you're like, why the hell did they put that stuff on? But it can come off. And we post those in an email with a Excel spreadsheet of a description of the car, what the price of it is, the miles, color, and everything. And we load all the cars into the vAuto Trade Network. So every day I load the next day's cars for the vAuto Trade Network, and the first buyer, manager, whoever from one of the stores that clicks on that car with an inquiry at exactly 9 o'clock, they can't be 8:50, 9:59, it's got to be time stamped 9 o'clock, or else everybody complains and gripes and everything else. So gets the car. And when my email goes, there'll be 60, 70 emails that come in less than 30 seconds. And I just start at the bottom of the list at 9 o'clock, and the first time a car shows up, that's who gets it, whatever dealer. So the cars aren't at sell to Morries for typically 24 to 48 hours.
Are you talking about from the time you trade for it or buy it by center, how long it takes to get to the front line for retail?
No, how long the recon, once it gets to the store, the process and how to measure it.
I don't get into that so much because we've changed our whole reconditioning process in the last year. We've opened 3 reconditioning centers that are regional to the pods of our dealerships. And so they go to the reconditioning centers and they do the work on them there now. I can tell you this, we do measure on all the cars from sell to Morries and profitability. Obviously the cars are more profitable by a little more than $400 a car, plus the reconditioning expense that is in that pack amount comes back to the dealer, because the reconditioning typically is $212 to $216 less per car is what it's averaging. So there's a $600 to $650 difference in profitability on our cars rather than the cars that either come in trade or come from the auction. So we do track that, every month and look at that, but that's the dealerships. That's not me. They've given my task is to just buy as many cars as we can at the right matrix and get them in and get them through. We've proven to the group that if we say that the car is a good car, it's a good car. If we say, no, we're sending it to sale, it's going to the sale. About once or twice a month, one of the used car managers will say, we see you took in, this so-and-so, and we got, somebody that really needs a $1,900 or $1,000 car or whatever, can we have one of our guys pick it up so we can do an inspection on it to see, if it's a car we could sell. And other than that, my cars go to the sale within usually 36 to 48 hours that they come into our office. We call the sale and they pick them up. We're lucky we have 3 auctions, 2 Mannheims and a Odessa right in town. So between the 3 of them, we get rid of them all. I don't have anything last a week at the sales. So they all sell. Just get rid.
One of the things you do unique, I think, I found it interesting, is you sell the really inexpensive cars. The stores don't wholesale anything, or they wholesale very little. Can you speak to that?
That's on our retail end. We have 4 levels of what we call Buy Happy. And we now have a bargain Buy Happy that is a low price cars but they're safety inspected and they have to have rudimentary things, the safety items fixed. It could be leaking and dripping and sieving and everything else, but the tires, the windshield wipers, the bulbs, the brakes are going to meet minimum safety standards for the state of Minnesota.
But you're selling $1,000 cars, $1,500 cars,
Yep,
retail.
retail, yeah. No, those cars, the pack's $300, I think. Yeah, they come with the 30-30 guarantee. 30 seconds, 30 feet, kick them off the curb. Folks, if they break into 30 pieces, take all 30 pieces. We don't want any of it left back, so. Any other questions? Okay, I asked a question before lunch, and I said, what's in our situation, not anybody else's, but for sell to Morries, what would you think is the optimum age for a career car guy to come into our office as a buyer?
$30.
24.
18, 19?
No, wait. 50 plus.
What's that?
50 plus.
Exactly. When I hire my buyers, I want someone that is 30 years in the car business, unlike what David looks at, because the way that we use our process, we are very personable. We are not as regimented. We are relationship builders, and I look at no, they still have to be the right person. They have to have the drive, the attitude, everything else that's critical and crucial. But to find a guy that's been in the dealerships, appraising cars, working the desk, been probably a sales manager at GSM, and he's ready to cut his hours from 80 hours to 45 hours a week. And he's ready to work Monday through Friday, 2 weeks a month, and take a day off during the week and work a Saturday till 3 the other 2 weeks a month. And we pay them pretty decent if they're pretty good. And to say to them, instead of you battling across the desk trying to sell somebody, you're going to have people come in and want to sell you something. And you have a big checkbook. And I'll tell you what, now you still have to hire the right person. You still have to make sure that they're not a cowboy, that they aren't trying to do things out on their own, that they follow the rules, they follow the process, they do the follow-up. But I'll bet you anybody that's got more than one store, if you sat down and looked at your organization and you said, who do I have that's a 45 to 55-year-old guy that is at a point in his career, he's been a desk manager, he's been a used car manager, the guy's probably appraised, 15, 20,000 vehicles. He's been able to buy cars at the sale, but he just doesn't have that vigor that these 25 and 28 and 32-year-old guys have to work the desk till 11 o'clock at night. Instead of him getting washed out and kicked out the door, the guy's got a wealth of knowledge that is fantastic. Use it. Use it. But like I said, he's still got to have great attitude, great personal skills, great customer skills, whatever. But it's at a point in somebody's career where they say, you know what, I can't work the hours, or I don't want to work the hours anymore. It's not time to get rid of that information that's in that person's head. It's time to covet it and use it. So a little different from what are the other concepts where other people might think of, but it works for us. That's all I can rely on. I can't rely on what other people do. I just can rely on what we do and have success with and tell you about it. And maybe you'll find that diamond between your feet that you were thinking the other way on when you're analyzing management at your stores. And all of a sudden you go, hey, this might be a good thing for so-and-so to do. But that's all the questions. I'm all set. Tom, you can
Great job.
come take, thank you.